Super Supportive by Sleyca. Chapter 241, Hopping Part 2. Elias's Sunday Morning Show, Episode 473, Alden Thorne. Clip begins at 3 minutes, 15 seconds. "See," said Morrison Waker, gesturing at the folding tables that filled a tiny parking lot. On one side, a grill and a smoker were manned by a figure almost as massive as Morrison's own big snake form. The man turned away from brushing sauce on a line of spatchcock chickens to dip his hand into a 5-gallon bucket behind him and grab a giant pickle from the brine. "Told you I knew a romantic spot in Apex where we wouldn't run into any students." "Good job on dodging the students," said Lady Saleh, her tone amused as she took in the plastic lawn chair seating and the styrofoam cups in the hands of the few diners. She was still in the pantsuit she'd worn to work. "I like barbecue too. It's not the first thing I associate with romance." "That's because you haven't noticed the tablecloths. Mitch put the Valentine's Day ones out for us. And you haven't seen me eat brisket. I get handsomer doing it." "Do you?" She chuckled, then stopped. "Hold on. Do you actually intend to morph yourself handsomer while eating brisket?" "Oh yeah," said Morrison, heading for the smoker. "Here come the huge ears and the mullet." Time lapse, 20 minutes compressed to 5 seconds. A shared brisket platter dwindles in size until only a few shreds of coleslaw are left. "How did your private tutoring session go a couple of nights ago?" Sadie asked, dropping the napkin she just used onto a tablecloth covered in pink hearts and roses. "With Alden Thorne. You were so excited a student picked you, as if they might not." "They see me all the time. I was afraid I was boring compared to the non-faculty volunteers." He took a long drink from his cup, then chewed some of the ice. "I like teaching them. But do you know anything about what happened to him when the ocean decided we'd all look better decorating the bottom of it? After he was teleported away from our other students on the bridge? I don't. His teleport timing combined with his commendation make me sure he has the best evacuation priority. He's most likely been assigned a personal flyer or a seat on one of the large ones, whichever's fastest for him. But then he ended up in a squish boot under the care of a healer at Matadero. Not clear how that happened, and he hasn't volunteered to share any details. Do you know?" Morrison watched the smoke rising behind her. "He asked me to help him train in a way that made me think he didn't have an easy time of it. I'd say he's a trouble magnet, but I don't believe in trouble magnets. You go out of your way to help people, putting yourself at risk in the process. That's you making it happen. No magnetism involved." "You think he was injured helping people that night?" "He wasn't completely forthcoming." She frowned. "I've noticed that about him too. Honest, not forthcoming." "So I've just got speculation," said Morrison. "What I think for sure," the Sadie looked curious. "I think he catches his first bullet before he graduates from uni." She threw her head back. "This again." "Not one fired from some toy gun either. The real thing. He's got a good way of looking at his skill, I can tell." "It's still a rabbit skill." "And our Tonans like him. That's not nothing." Sadie held a hand over their tray and phased it out. A little bit of barbecue residue she'd missed with the napkin fell through her unsubstantial flesh to land with the coleslaw. "Well, I can't argue with that. The attention of the triplanets has its downsides, but following their gaze when it repeatedly lands on a particular avowed isn't a bad strategy for learning something worthwhile." "Root is so much love and danger. Harp Romeo, grant my killing pirate. He needs 2 thoughts at once like Artonin." "Your texting is so magnificent, how you," said Alden, misting his hair with softly salty, and hoping that something more or less correct would happen to it as it dried in the wind during his upcoming Nonagon ride. "Not as magnificent as whatever Lute's doing in there," said Howyu. He'd come to join Alden in the bathroom. Alden thought he was bursting with too much amusement at Lute's expense to stay in the living room with everyone else without saying something. Alden could only imagine what it looked like in there based on the sounds. "That's perfect, Emilija. It's the perfect tempo. Keep plucking those 2 strings just like that. Beautiful. Now, you listen to me, Roman. Where is your spine? Sabotage the Grand Witch at every opportunity. Never, ever, ever surrender. You can't tell innocent globies and stupid local rabbits whatever she asked you to tell them. If she wants it, it's evil. Do you like this song, Emilija? I can play anything you like. What's your favorite song?" Roman Velra had been given Aulia's annual invitation to the event. She had one because she was a Diamond Star employer, according to a rabbit business associate that ran a program to connect new rabbits to part-time jobs, where they could practice their skills for appropriate pay in friendly, nurturing environments. And obviously she couldn't attend herself this year, since she was protecting an Isidora by staying on board Libra. The Velras had a lot of homes and a lot of money, and it made perfect sense for Aulia to butter up rabbits for those reasons alone. It would be a win-win for her to periodically give Kabir or her housekeepers and groundskeepers to some eager junior avowed to help out with the chores. Alden knew that, but he was still struggling not to see the whole thing as a nefarious plot to find more people like Manon Barre. Every rabbit is a potential doorway to a new section of Wizard Society. Just imagine what kind of information Manon's group could have picked up at Leafsong over the years. If Alden were a billionaire with a connection to a shady group that had an annual position at an elite wizard school, actually he'd just be paying them to memorize every single thing the students and faculty said about magic, so that he could learn some new spells. But Aulia was probably interested in all the other stuff, which Grand Senator's kid was committing crimes, who had a submerger for sale, what the primary son kept in his bedroom drawers. Laura hauled bags and equipment for examinees. I bet she snooped through everything she could. He hoped Stuart hadn't let her carry anything. He was so particular about how he organized his space and tucked away all the supplies he kept in his pockets and pouches. He'd feel violated if someone had pawed through it all. Is she really that bad? Natalie's voice wasn't loud compared to Lute playing an instrument, complimenting Emilicia excessively and telling Roman he'd never recover his self-respect if he lifted a finger on Aulia's behalf. Because Roman said she'd asked him to collect information from people with cooking magic, and I think going just for 1 or 2 weeks and seeing a ship's kitchen could be fun. Would you bake coffee cake for the devil just because she invited you to do it on her mega yacht? Lute demanded. All right, my hair can do whatever, said Alden, tossing the spray bottle back into the cabinet over the sink, grabbing his bag from where he'd set it by the tub curtain, and striding out with Haoyu to join the others. Emilicia was in the kitchen, plucking Angela's strings with Lute. Hadiza was on the sofa beside Natalie, flipping through one of Haoyu's comic books. And Alden was surprised to see Roman in one of the armchairs, happily changing the infrared fireplace colors with one remote, and the mealy musk tree lights with another, trying to make them match, as if Lute wasn't in the middle of haranguing him. The first time Alden had encountered Roman at Benjamin Velra's birthday party, he'd noticed that the second youngest Velra S-rank was a fan of appeal points. But Roman had been making such stressful comments about Lute's missing eye and Jessica that he'd counteracted his own magical effect. Now he was sitting here quietly, and Alden caught himself smiling because Roman's own smile seemed to be asking for a reply. And Alden had been running in here to weigh in on the working for Aulia topic, which was no smiling matter. If his appeal doesn't hit as hard as Natalie's, I think it's because he started from behind in some of the important areas, not because he invested significantly less of his affixation in it. Roman was wearing a retro bowling shirt, custom patterned with the lines for his favorite common word chains, which seemed kind of sad if you knew he'd trained for his whole life for a class he didn't get. And he'd gone overboard on cologne that smelled like it had been crafted by someone who found industrial-strength cleaning products inspiring. Natalie, now isn't a good time to work for Aulia, said Alden, resisting the urge to say something more negative, since Roman was right here and might report back. At all, even though she pays well. Kabir had said she did anyway. Submerger, he texted Natalie, politics, and she gets weird about stuff. She might decide your pineapple salsa is the key to her winning the next election for the rares and unique seat, and threaten everyone else who tries to employ you. Natalie had been looking toward Lute and Emilicia and the harp. As his message arrived, she turned around. I wasn't very serious, just wondering if she was as bad as Lute says. That's a nice shirt. Hadiza, look what Alden's wearing. It doesn't even need your skill. I see how it is, said Alden. You expected Hadiza to have to work on a slob. I thought you'd wear the brown hoodie, said Emilicia. He wears that a lot, Hadiza agreed. This is better. Good, they approved. Alden had stood at his closet reading about the rabbit welcome for a couple of minutes, trying to figure out what he should wear. And he was pretty sure he understood what he could do to make the girls glad they'd come to get him. This was part celebration, part orientation, and part networking extravaganza. They probably wanted attention from important people and invitation to all the coolest parties. He didn't want those things for himself, but he had an idea of how his presence might be beneficial. The brown turtleneck with the subtle metallic threads, made to go with his Triplanet's outfit, was a start. He figured it looked a little alien and a little expensive, even if nobody knew where he'd gotten it from or where he usually wore it. A little alien and a little expensive was very rabbit. Come on, he said. Our nonagon awaits. They all stood. Haoyu had to remind Roman he couldn't take the fireplace remote with him. You're so lucky, Lute. Roman grabbed Lute in a hug. The bewildered look Lute turned on Alden in its aftermath was hard not to laugh at. There are so many people in this dorm. The guys you live with are so nice. I'm sorry I missed Lexi. You have an antler light and a real polar bear. Alden, which of you two told him Sonny was real? Haoyu's completely innocent expression was his answer. When can I come and visit again? Roman asked. Grandma keeps telling people I'll find all of their important things that went missing during the accident. Most of their things are just... He pointed down. At the seabed, Alden guessed. Accident is a small word for what happened, Roman, said Lute. I bet you wouldn't think to look for me here. I can tutor you in Artonin. You're way behind. Roman! Lute huffed, then groaned, then rolled his eye and reached up to grab Roman's shoulders. Stop doing things for her. Remember when you screamed that she was a crazy, superstitious, life-destroying... He glanced at Emilia. Person? You were so loud you woke up the whole mansion, and she made us all run away to live on Libra where you couldn't find us, because she knows in that crusty, oozing scab she calls a heart that you were right. That was a good moment for you. You need to maintain some of that anger. I hate her a lot, mostly, said Roman, but we only have one family, and right now so much is going wrong. Stand up for yourself, man. Freedom! If you don't believe me, speak to Amy. I think she has some kind of secret wisdom she's hiding from the rest of us. And, hear me out, maybe you should go enjoy your last year of high school at a high school instead of homeschooling. It's not like you got Chainer, and I think distance would be a good choice for you. Could I stay in this room? No! Get your own roommates! You can buy a polar bear with them. You'll like it. I'll come visit again tomorrow. Do you guys have video game nights? I think I would enjoy video games. Have you ever played one before? Haoyu asked. How is that? Tomorrow's very soon, Lute said. Don't come over that soon. But I have so much free time when I'm not finding lost possessions for people. Chainer training was 32 hours every week, more in the final year, and now it's just over. Sometimes I'm jealous Mio is still doing it. How long? Alden asked. Was that on top of school? Too long, Emilia said. Much too long, Hadiza agreed. I cook that much a lot of weeks, said Natalie, but only since I got my skill. I thought you said you started Chainer practice as soon as you could talk? Yes, that's correct, everyone. Lute was waving them toward the door. Our family has problems. I am unable to fully escape because I have consumed the cursed pomegranate of Chainer. Roman has slipped away from Aulia's grasp and must not go back to it. Go enjoy rabbit companionship, Roman. Have a good time not helping the person who thought Hazel having headaches made her more magical than an actual S rank who'd been training for years. Have you ever skateboarded? Asked Haoyu, frowning at Roman. What about brute scouts? What about bicycles? You can ride a bicycle, can't you? When the rabbits were finally out of the dorm on the Nonagon and headed toward F-City, Roman leaned toward Alden and said, Maybe I won't recruit anybody for Grandma Aulia. Maybe I'll just have fun. He looks like he wants approval from a total stranger. I think you should have fun, said Alden. You're showing up on a Tion's Nonagon with the 3 coolest new rabbits on an Essidora. The girls all cheered at that. They'd been cheering a lot, hyped up by Emilia for every tiny flight milestone, higher than the highest building on Apex, leaving the coastline, passing over the ferry. Most people probably think Alden's cooler than you 3, though, Roman said, because of Matadero and how he went missing on his first summoning, and how many videos there are of him with my cousin. Figures he'd be a fan of the Hazel blow-up videos. How do you all know each other anyway? Alden asked. Dragons above, Natalie and Roman said in Mandarin at the same time. At Alden's perplexed look, Hadiza explained, It's a club only S-rank rabbits are allowed inside. It's really just a privacy booth with 4 tables in it, said Natalie. So she claims! Roman was the only other person there when I went to see what it was like. We talked for a while about the jobs he'd gotten from Wizards. He gets a lot. People lose their belongings all the time. And then we met him on our way to the ferry earlier, Natalie continued. And when we decided to come back for you, he wanted to see where Lute lives. Roman brightened. Emilia, I think my cousin has a crush on you. Hadiza and Natalie cheered. Emilia reddened. I think she already knows, Alden said. I hope she knows. He keeps learning Lithuanian words. And jumping into hot tubs with his clothes on and trying to get her to play the harp with him. You should go out with him, Roman said. He's short and dramatic, but I think he's probably telling the truth about getting a second S-rank skill at selection. Are you trying to help Lute or hurt him? Alden exclaimed. Emilia, Lute is a trustworthy person, and he's funny. There's a rumor Grandma promised him way more life extension treatments than anyone else has gotten, too. He's smart, said Alden. Decent. Amazing musician. Really good at tutoring me in word chains. I can make up my own mind without help from you two. I wanted to hear what else they would say, Hadiza whispered loudly to Natalie. Elias's Saturday Morning Show, episode 473, Alden Thorne. Clip begins at 6 minutes, 18 seconds. A bird's-eye view of an apartment building, then the camera travels down and around through an open window. Color fades to black and white to indicate the interior is being reconstructed based on known furniture purchases and the resident's personality profile. Positioning of characters, expressions, and other details are informed by existing knowledge and audio captured from InfoGear, one floor below on a public street. I want to talk to him, the man shouted. His hair was oily and tangled. His shirt and the bare legs that stuck out from his shorts were stained with mud. I want to talk to the person who found them and left them there. I did not indicate that the person was male, said Ruziota, her hands loosely at her sides and her face calm as she watched him. On the table beside them lay 2 wooden boxes, each just large enough to hold the object within, a jade hoop earring, a driver's license from Iowa. It would have been a little baby girl who found them. The man shook his head. He paced away and then back, just leaving them there to be drowned again. Crushed! But it was Apex. Some Apex fucker left them. Someone who could have done more. Where are their bodies? What if they hadn't gone? What if she wasn't dead when they found her? Why didn't they carry her to a healer? The one who found them was sure they were no longer alive, Ruziota said slowly. Their bodies couldn't be recovered without putting the living in danger. The area was severely flooded again only a short time later. Your lover and her father were treated with respect by the one who found them. I want them to tell me how it was with their own voice, then. I want to hear it from another human, not a wizard. I do not think that should happen. Tell him or her, whoever. I want to talk to them. Tell them they need to face me. No. A fist fell through the table with a crack. A jade earring leapt from its box, skidding and rolling across the floor. The man dove after it, catching it and sliding into a wall. He huddled there, holding the earring cupped in his palm, staring at it. We were getting married, he said in a choked voice. Next month. Getting married at the Vern on top of Nautilus Needle. She liked fancy places. Fancy things. I don't know what she ever saw in me. I can't believe they got Nautilus Needle on short notice. Natalie had a squeal in her voice as they waited for an elevator in the tallest skyscraper on Anesidora. Sky Traffic Control had not felt like Alden needed to park the Nonagon on top of the building just for the heck of it. You normally have to book advance here more than a year in advance, especially the Vern. I read about it online. This place is much better than the original location. Especially since the original location is now gone, said Emilija. The Nautilus shell etched into the elevator doors lit up with specks of gold and silver when the car arrived. And when they stepped inside, the buttons for the conference hall and the Vern, the 2 locations for this event, were flashing. Natalie pressed the conference hall button. Here we go. The girls all pulled stacks of cards out of their purses, and as they did, the elevator filled with the smell of chocolate chip cookies and recess, exclaimed Alden. Yes, recess, said Natalie, spinning to point at Hadiza and Emilija. I told you both. I told you the elementary school playground was coming through. We've got Remember My Skill cards, Alden. Mine holds the scent of cookies I baked. Emilija's each have a paint chip missing from the design on the back so she can fix them before she hands them to people. And Hadiza's are super ugly, but in a way that makes them extra gorgeous when she uses her skill on them. You 3 came prepared, he said. Do you want a card? Natalie asked, holding one out. He took it so fast she blinked. You know you can't eat it, don't you? It's paper, not an actual cookie. Paper is a plant-based material. Of course I'm not going to eat it. He looked up at the mirrored ceiling as he pocketed his scented card. For a moment, right before the elevator stopped, he felt very out of place. They were all so bright and pretty, even Roman Velra in his own way. Wonder where Olgeto Fecondo's sleeping tonight, and if Mban slept at all. Stuart's got to be unconscious. Votaries have it tough. The doors opened. His interface notified him that his event map and schedule were available. Teenagers in bunny ears were everywhere, and as soon as they spilled out of the elevator, Natalie dragged Alden over to a table where the free ones were spread out. They still have a brown pair, she said exuberantly, to match your shirt. He put them on and let her bend the wire in one of the ears until it met with her approval. Just so I'm clear on what you guys want, he said, looking around the huge room. Info booths for clubs, employers, and services of particular interest to rabbits filled half of it. The other half was seating and a stage where the next speaker would be talking about essentials for your rabbit go bag. This was the more business side of the event, and upstairs in the Verne the party was going on. The High Council's rabbit would be mingling up here until she gave the closing speech, along with a bunch of other important rabbits and friends of rabbits. We're down here to raid booths, give out cards, and get lots of free stuff, Alden said. And then we're heading upstairs where we want the older rabbits who are throwing follow-up parties over the next few weeks to give you those. He nodded toward a girl who was running past, waving a big red envelope at her friends. Invited to one tomorrow morning, she said. I got invited to hop to another party. Natalie gasped. That invitation, that must be for the Holly Jolly Bunny Bruncheon. Alden stared at her. You can tell by the envelope. There are only 40 invitations for that one. Neha said it was the best place to meet the guy who gets imports for all the top restaurants. He's almost always on, too. Got it. So, our goal is to acquire as many envelopes as possible. You do understand that even if I get invited to lots of those things, I can't go to them all? They're only invitations. You don't have to say yes just because someone gives you one. And if I get the Midnight Bunny boxing match for tonight, or whatever else there is, I'll definitely have to skip, because I'm leaving at 9:30 and going to bed. You sure? Natalie said, shaking her head. I was going to bet on you in the boxing match. You were? That changes everything. He scanned the room. I like my chances against other rabbits our age. Anyway, yes, said Natalie. You've got the idea. She leaned toward him, and when he returned the motion, she whispered, When I'm busy, will you stay close to Emilija and Hadiza? We really want to get a bunch of neat places together, but especially Emilija? Alden smiled. Finally, my unwanted spotlight has found its purpose. You don't mind? She asked. He leaned closer. Bet you 1,000 Argold I can get Emilija more invitations than you can. Natalie scoffed. No, you can't. Take the bet. I'm not going to lose. So you accept? Of course I do, but if I somehow lose, you will accept payment in Mexican food and cinnamon rolls. Deal. You must have a bottomless pit in your stomach. I've been inhaling a potion that has an appetite-increasing side effect for 2 days straight. I really might eat your new business card if you don't guard them.